This is the Maytech Systems F765 wing controller board itself. Comes with the flight controller. There's the flight controller. Bottom board is basically purely for mounting. The center board is the flight controller itself. And the top board is a BEC board. That's what they call it, a BEC board. It comes with a bunch of red, white, and black pin headers. You can solder on to your liking. You can't get one of these with any pins pre-soldered on it. You looked everywhere. Nope, doesn't happen. Comes with 6 extra little screws, very small, and 4 extra little nylon spacers. You can see the nylon spacer right in here, and then the flexible mounting, that mount that's between the bottom board and the flight controller is a flexible for vibration dampening. Just go ahead and put these back in the bag, keep them safe. It's always nice when companies send extra little stuff you might need. So the first thing you should do with about any flight controller or piece of electronics on the planet is just see if it powers up normally, and you can get the current firmware on it before you solder any of these pin headers on. And I see a lot of recommendations about this on the internet, and it just makes sense. Go ahead and test the board. If it's bad, you can call your vendor and say, hey man, that board you just sent me is bad. And they say, well, you know, how far did you get with it? And you go, well, I just powered it up. It wouldn't power up. Or I powered it up and I tried to flash it with the current firmware and it wouldn't flash. Or I powered it up, flashed it with the current firmware, hooked up some circuitry and it just didn't work. Versus I took it out of the box, soldered a bunch of stuff to it, then I powered it up to try to put the firmware on it and it wouldn't work. You're just going to have a whole lot better time with your vendor if you just sort of don't do a lot of soldering on electronics that you get before basic testing. So I'm just going to take a USB cable, plug it in, and we see we have our normal lights on the flight controller board. The BEC board on the top is not connected right now. And again, the bottom board does nothing but mounting. So we're actually seeing lights on the center flight controller board, and we could take this BEC board off. We'll have to do the soldering and stuff. And then the top BEC board has to be soldered to the flight controller board if you want to make use of the BEC functions on the top board. If you don't, you can go right as it is. I do. So there it is, powering up. So we'll go over onto the computer. And we'll load up iNav. And first of all, let's see if we can connect. Looks like we can't. Ooh. Actually, I'd had this board out before, so we can connect. So what our first step should be is to come in here and type version. And what we're looking for most here is right here. You want to see what board firmware you're going to be looking for. And it looks to me, this is iNav 2.5.2 from August 4th, 2020. I don't think that's the current version. So real quick, I'm going to 2.5.2, I think. We'll check that. Disconnect. I'm going to come over here and go to firmware flasher. I'm going to go to choose your board type, which this was why the version was so important to us. So we can go down here and know that this is exactly the text we're looking for. And of course, looking through these version 2.4, 2.5, 2.51, 2.52, 2.6, 2.61. On all these dates, they go from bottom to top. The newest is at the top. So we'll just take the most new. What was I on? 251, 252. Someplace in here on that board. So that's not current version. We always want to go to the current version. We'll come down here to the bottom right and click the center button, load firmware online. There, it's been loaded, and this is version 2.6.1. You look down through the notes here. Frequently people just come in here and they never scroll down through that release info. They just come here to flash it. So there, after this first of the three blue buttons, now at the bottom right, the flash firmware, click. Well, that didn't go well, did it? We'll just try all that again real quick. Clean copy of iNav. And we're at the Maytag 765. We want the current stable version. Load firmware online. And flash firmware. Notice I am having trouble here. Got full chip erase on. Communication with bootloader failed. Okay, so I will power down the board. Right here on the side of the 765 board is a little button. It's even labeled right here on the silk screen on the oops. We'll get it right side up. It's even labeled on the silk screen right here as the DFU button, direct firmware upgrade. So I'm going to power up this board while I hold that button in with my finger. I powered up the board. Now, if we come back to the iNav, you notice up here in the top, this time, it says DFU. direct firmware update mode. So we'll try all this again. Okay. Loaded online firmware. Flash. Ah, look, we have it saying erasing this time. You can sometimes get your flight controller. It's not got the current version on it. It won't take the current version. You have to kind of blow it back to zero, flash it again, get everything back in order, and from that moment on, the board will probably work for you just perfectly in life. There it says programming successful. I'm going to shut down iNav. I'm going to unplug the board. I'm going to plug the board back in. I think it does reboot itself, but I like them purely cold boots. Real quick, I'm going to go and right click on start and go to device manager. I don't think this device is being found properly. I'm not sure. Yeah, I guess it is. It's on COM10 too. Okay, back into iNav. That's a strange way to denote COM10 / dot. Maybe that's something I did. 115.200 connect. If it's never been connected to iNav before, it will come up and ask you for this, so it can kind of pre-configure some things for you, whether it's a quad, airplane, rover, boat. I'm just going to choose airplane, and I'm going to let this wizard run real quick. There we go. Actually, the wizard didn't run. I know that I have actually used this board before. The wizard will come up and ask you if you have a motor or not, if you have ailerons, if you have flaps, if you have rudder elevators, and what the configuration of them is. So basically, we have a working iNav board at this point. Also at this point, I and a lot of other people recommend we're going to do a calibration, the accelerometer calibration. Do it right now. Keep testing the board where you haven't soldered anything to it or done anything to it yet. You want to see multiple things working successfully without any hiccups. Builds up faith in the board. Plus, this is the easiest time on the planet to calibrate these accelerometers, because you don't have anything hooked to it except the USB cable at this point. It would be nice if the USB cable wasn't hooked to it, but you got to get power there somehow. There would be a battery anyway. There's going to be one other thing that gets in your way. So, calibrate the accelerometers. Click calibrate accelerometer. Place flight controller in a position shown in the image, then press calibrate button again. Repeat for each of the 6 positions. Keep it stable during calibration. Why, sure. So, here it is, sitting flat on the table. I'm just going to push down on it a little bit. Try not to shake it or anything. And I'm going to say calibrate accelerometer. Yeah, there's that picture, shows good. The next one is upside down. Okay, I'm going to try to use this little box to kind of stabilize me a little bit. Straight upside down. Click calibrate accelerometer again. Notice this crap. The upright one went gray again, and the upside down one now is blue. Had this on my other board. If I just go right back and click, put the accelerometer back upright, click calibrate accelerometer, it does another one, and now I have these two blue. It's a quirk of the software, quirk of the controller, I don't know which, but I know it does it almost every time I do this to a brand new board. Okay, it wants it pointing to the right, which got your direction arrow here. So we'll hold it on its edge there and click calibrate accelerometer. It wants it pointing straight up for this one. We'll hold it like that on the table. Let it get steady. Click calibrate accelerometer. This wants it on the left side, but you remember you got your your direct firmware upgrade button here that you don't want to push, so I'm just going to use this little box, keep that button forward to the box, keep everything still, click calibrate accelerometer, and last one is pointing straight down. Just got two boards to kind of feel when they're both steady. I'll do this. I'll push it down from the top against this box, and that should hold it really vertical. Let it get stable. Click calibrate accelerometer. Accelerometer calibration finished. Check if values have been saved. Click OK. Checking that values have been saved. No, they haven't. So I'll go down here in this bottom right hand corner and click save and reboot. That's really all I do to a flight controller. The first time I power it up out of the box, it's just, like I say, just a really good time to do that accelerometer calibration. It's a shame it don't have a battery on it and a compass, and be able to do the compass calibration at this point with its least stuff in it, and with it not yet in a fuselage of a model buried down deep or something like that. So but that's about all I do to the board itself, except for soldering on the pins, which I'll do here in a minute. So I'm not sure what else I would say about your basic board at this point. I really wouldn't say a thing about it. I'll go over some of the pins and stuff as I solder them up. But that's all for now.